Oh, man.
Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47. We're not going to allow it to be used against our fellow Americans anymore. Hell yes, hell yes, hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15. Hell yes, your AK-47. Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15.
Oh, hell no!
Hell yes, we're not going to allow it to be used against our fellow Americans anymore.
Well, everyone, welcome to Friday Free For All. I am back with you. It may not seem like it, but I actually had 15 minutes of show prep. I tell you, what a week it has been, SHTF style. Rather than having a beer or a scotch or something relaxing on a Friday, I'm having a creamed coffee. In fact, I'm going to go one step further. I would like you to join me in this. And Jenny Jen, my good friend from California, got me some Kraken, and I'm going to partake of it because I have earned a half a shot of Kraken in there. And yeah, look at it fizz. Anyways, welcome back, folks. We got a lot to talk about. Get your questions down below. We're going to do the back and forth. That is, I do some subjects, you do some subjects. Rather than a 30-minute monologue and 30 minutes of Q&A, we mix it up because it is the Friday free-for-all. And what do you do in a free-for-all? Well, you put up your dukes and you mix it all up. Well, I'm going to start with this. This story came out this week, and we're going to cover this entire week. And you can talk about whatever you want to talk about. If it's relevant and you have a question and you're a Prepared Mind subscriber or a Subscribe Star subscriber, you can ask about something that happened 2 years ago. Not just this week. Something that happened 4 years ago. And it can all play back to today. All you have to do is bring up a topic, a subject, a person, a historical event, a future prediction, whatever it is, and we can discuss it. You bring it up, and I'll talk about it. I got to tell you, Jen, the Kraken is the stuff. And also on the Prepared Mind desk is this cappuccino by Don Tadeo. And that was given to me by Nikki a while back, and I still sip on it occasionally. Folks, I wake up in the morning, and it is 0 dark 30. And I sit down with a cup of the good stuff. And I can get up at 2, I can get up at 3. Sometimes I'm lucky enough to get up at 4, have my coffee right here at the desk, on the comfortable sofa thing, and just study what is going on and apply all of my intellect to it. And then I get in my car and do a 0 dark 30 with you guys. And then I work my ass off all day, just like you work your ass off all day. And then I come home, back to the bunker or Studio A or Studio B or whatever, and I do just what you do. I try and figure out what the hell's going on in my life. Right? In your life, in our life, in the world, right? We start small and then we start looking outward. Extremely difficult. It's all extremely difficult. We get through the week, we pay our bills. We look back and go, why are we in more debt than we were when we started the week working our ass off? It's difficult. People might say, why are you bitching? You got a cup of hot, fresh coffee with some Kraken in it. Well, I wouldn't have any of that if it weren't for you guys and your generosity. Really, everyone who donates, contributes is terrific. You know, we We all pay out of pocket to make this happen, and it's that fucking important that I come here and talk to you. Otherwise, I wouldn't. Detractors, naysayers, they don't have a fucking clue what they're talking about. They may know one thing about, well, internet broadcasting, social media, how it works, what is best. But unless you're in it every day, right, to the extent that you and I are watching and working, they just don't get it. They think it's a joke. It's not a joke, folks. Step outside that door, look at the world. It's not a joke. Pay attention to the news for 5 minutes and you realize it's not a joke. Now get this. Here's not a joke to start off with on this Free for All Friday. And again, get your questions in because we're going to have some topics to go over. Now, earlier in the week, it was released that China has been researching and experimenting with mosquitoes, wanting mosquitoes to deliver, folks, the Jim Jones juice. That's right, putting inside a mosquito the Jim Jones juice package. So when the mosquito bites you, you get the Jim Jones juice. Now, it makes no sense. How come there can be a tube this big, right? Let's just say this is a tube, a vial of Jim Jones juice. They put it in a syringe and they jab you with it. How is it possible that in order for what they call it to be safe and effective, it needs to be this big? How can a mosquito that gets just a couple of, shall we say, micro nanules of its own saliva on you, how is that supposed to help you? How can a mosquito deliver that into you? Well, how about this? Come out later in the week. Well, the bug jab isn't good. The bug jab is actually a weapon, right? This use of mosquito as a vector or a hypodermic transmitter with wings, right? It's a bioweapon delivery platform. Now, yeah, in order to get good stuff in you, you've got to have a big old tube of it, right? In order to put a poison, toxin, or biological weapon, you just need a couple of nanograms, right? Tiniest a bit. And the mosquito penetrates your skin, the biggest organ on our body. Our skin is an organ. It protects us from bacteria and viruses and disease. Well, the mosquito penetrates that with its little snout and gets into our bloodstream. And that's enough to make it a weapon, folks. Have no doubts. They want to make everything into a weapon. China, boy, they're our good buddies, aren't they? Unbelievable what is happening. We haven't had enough of that. We haven't had enough crap. Truly, we haven't had enough crap. I mean, I watched I got this from a friend. I got this from a patriot. I got it from a fellow prepper. And it was a Simpsons cartoon. And I couldn't believe it. How accurate this thing was. It was unbelievable. It was the Jim Jones juice, right? They're talking about it in the cartoon. How much do we have to see this, folks, to know it's true, that they're doing this on purpose, that it's all part of our lives? All right, enough on that. Let's move to the next topic. Today, the mother of Ashley Babbitt. Now, Ashley Babbitt was that woman who was part of the J6 protest, who was involved in something that looked like a false flag. It looked suspicious. It was strange as hell, but she died. She was shot by a Capitol policeman for posing about a 1% threat risk. Anyway, she was shot and killed. So her mother has become a protester in Washington, D.C., trying to get justice for Ashley, and then also raising awareness for the January 6th prisoners. Once again, folks, you do your job, I do my job, we work all day long, and you look out there, and what happens? What do you see? Right? Well, Not a lot. Well, it's because the people who are being punished are in prison, silently suffering. Right? They're being starved. They're being attacked and beaten. They're being medically mistreated, psychologically mistreated. They're being legally mistreated. Their constitutional rights are being violated, and apparently no one gives a shit. Where is all of the so-called good Republicans in Congress on January 6th prisoners that are being held and detained without charges filed or bullshit false charges, right? You should not be in prison for trespassing on public property. That's bullshit. Well, get this. Ashley Babbitt's mother today arrested in Washington, D.C. by the Capitol Police because she was what? She was protesting in the street. And even then, it appears from the video footage that she didn't violate the law because she was not told, as were the other protesters, to get out of the street according to proper police procedure. They just wanted to arrest them. But don't worry. If you want to protest in the street, you just need to make sure you're part of the right political party. If you're a BLM member, you can burn churches in Washington, D.C. If you're a BLM and Antifa member, don't worry. You can assault the police and throw frozen bottles of water, right? Ice, hard, like a rock. Actual rocks, bricks, fireworks, lasers. You can do whatever you want. You just need to be part of the right political party, and then you can do whatever the hell you want. So don't be like Ashley Babbitt's mother and get arrested for quietly, peacefully protesting injustice and unconstitutional behavior by the government. Instead, be a feminazi. And you can beat down the doors on the Supreme Court because you don't like their ruling on Roe v. Wade. That's just fine to do that. Just don't be a peaceful protester. Yeah, satire, cynicism, et cetera, et cetera. It's what we've been reduced to, folks. Seriously. There's so much to talk about, so much going on. And I've got one more goodie for you. That's right. Take a wild guess. This week, we have had the most powerful take a wild guess candidate occur. On Monday Night Football, right? We had the football player in question make a tackle, stand up, fall down, pass out. They stop the game, suspend the game, cancel the game, whatever. Monday Night Football, primetime, the whole world is watching. The football player in question rushed to a hospital, put on life-saving medical super support. And guess what? They say he's got a heart attack. Before that even happened, though, before they admitted to what he was admitted for, right? The football players came out and they were talking about the Jim Jones juice as the most likely culprit. I'll tell you why they thought that. One football player falling over and they're going to blame the Jim Jones juice? I don't think so. Take a wild guess, folks. The media attention and hype on this was incredible because it's necessary. You'd be shocked. I was shocked at how many people I met that had no idea that there were adverse reactions. They just didn't know. These are people on the street that I talked to, and I was shocked to do my own research. How few people know, but the football players do know. Why is that, do you suppose? Once again, take a wild guess. Probably because the media doesn't cover it. And it doesn't happen during games, but I bet during practices in their private lives, these football players that are juicinated have had nothing but trouble. I bet they've gotten dizzy, short of breath, fallen over. They've gone to their doctor. They've got heart problems, maybe blood clots, issues, other issues. And in order to protect the NFL and protect the regime in D.C. and protect the agenda behind the Jim Jones juice, they don't say anything. They're very quiet. Hey, they're so macho and virulent, they don't want to say anything, right? They're total studs. They're not going to let some little pissant formula that was jabbed into them take them down. So they don't want to say anything. But this happened on the field in front of everybody. And boy, did the shit come out, right? The shit came right out of that horse. And by the end of the week, though, again, Monday Night Football. What is it? Friday night. So Monday night it happened. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, here we are, Friday night, 4 nights later. What have you heard today about the Jim Jones juice, the NFL, the player that hit the turf, the danger of Jim Jones juice and the boosters? It's all but absent from the news now. The attention span, as Uman has pointed out, is 72 hours or less for the average American. And you can shake your head, Uman. You've been nailing this one all along, and he's shaking his head. Unbelievable. Chance favors the prepared mind. If you are not prepared, folks, you're in big, big, big trouble. We've got to stay prepared. You've got to stay on top of what is happening. I do my very best to bring you guys entertainment, solid information in the form of satire. Mr. T has put together excellent promos, many more than I've been capable of showing, because the show is so full of everything. It's hard to get to. And there's a lot of stuff that the censors just won't allow. There's a lot of stuff that my advisors say, don't put that on the show. You're going too far. And I tell you what, sometimes I like going too far, and other times I want to listen. I want to listen to those who know better and say, John, you just ought not talk about that. You're going to get it. Right? Kind of like talking about that Mac Vsog guy I met the other day. His name doesn't matter. Where he lives or visited doesn't matter. But just talking about that, when the CIA hated communists and basically had a kill on sight doctrine. I can't share with you everything that's said, because I've been advised not to, just like I can't show you everything in every news story. Enough said. Let's see what you want to talk about. Jolene, who do we want to put up as the first candidate on this Free for All Friday? We have Latin America preparedness. Now, the other day when the NFL player fell, Latin American preparedness said, I can't believe it, down where I'm at, because he's not here in the good old US of A. He is one of our international Prepper Network friends. He said, hey, it's polluting his fucking channel. Anyways, he says, today is the anniversary of the January 6th Capitol incident. That's right, 2 years exactly. The establishment want to celebrate the incident. Most deaths were Trump supporters is covered up. Is the January 6th incident a reason to avoid protests? Interesting, on the 2-year anniversary, Ashley Babbitt's mother is arrested. I wonder if she has legal representation. I wonder if she was read her rights. I wonder if she's going to be charged with anything or just held without bail, without charges, without an attorney, without anyone knowing where the hell she's at. Just because she is a major embarrassment to the D.C. and the Secret Service, because, well, one of their members shot Ashley Babbitt, essentially in cold blood. Unbelievable. Is the J6 incident a reason to avoid protests? The answer for me is yes. Well, not necessarily protests as much as avoiding Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is not the United States of America. Washington, D.C. is the United States government. They own Washington, D.C., literally the dirt, the swamp there. I'm not welcome there, and I won't go there. I'd be afraid that they would arrest me. They'd find a reason to arrest me and then put the hurt on me as much as they put the hurt on anyone else, because they can, and they can get away with it. Avoiding these people, folks, it's incredible, right? They are covering everything up they can. They're glamorizing and showboating all of their power and authority. They're continuing to demonize, if you will. They're continuing to demonize people like you and me. They're continuing to demonize the protesters, right? Insurrectionists, white supremacists even. Give me a fucking break. Not even close. Yet that's what they charge, right? They don't want anyone to forget the negative feelings they got from January 6th, that the mainstream media and the politicians have done all they can to encourage, fear of people who want freedom. Right? They want the world to believe that you are bad because you are part of this. And in fact, I caught in a news article what happened to the Oath Keepers, the Proud Boys, and the QAnon people since January 6th. Guess what? They've all been kind of wiped and swept away, right? Because they were so negatively stigmatized, right? They're insurrectionists. This great gaslighting by the mainstream media was used to destroy those things. And now they need to celebrate it or bring it up to remind people to feel guilty and feel afraid, right? And kind of like me, I'm not going to D.C. Are you? Do you feel safe going to Washington, D.C.? What is there to see there? Well, about all you're ever going to see is a bunch of left-wing idiots tearing down our history, removing statues, monuments, plaques, and creating their own little world. Folks, D.C. is a freak show. And I don't think there's a better way to say it than that. I mean, we've seen what's come out of there from all of the radical LGBTQI pup handlers and such to their drag queens. I know people that live in and around Washington, D.C. who they can't help but notice the town is full of perversion. Not just intellectual perversion, but all manner of perversion. Anyways, protesting, what good is it going to do? You can't win in court with facts, so how is protesting on the street? How is protesting on the street going to change any minds? The best we can do here is prep to action, and that is where we are directly corresponding with a congressman or a senator or a governor or even trying with the president, but by sending email, text, or messaging through their computer services, you're directly interacting with them. Standing on the street outside a building, yelling at the building, do you think any congressman hears any of that or gives a shit? Not really. All right, well, let us move on here. Something else that happened a little while ago that's popped up this week is the Nordstream pipeline. Has anyone remembered or forgotten that? I think most people have forgot it. Why doesn't anyone give a shit, right? Now, Vladimir Putin, he decided to bring this up because he doesn't want people to forget this. Interesting how politicians on any side of the aisle or any continent want to bring up issues when they're interested in talking about them. So what is good old Vlad saying? Well, he remarked that, quote, nobody is investigating the Nord Stream explosions. He said, we had an opportunity once to look at these sites of explosions, all that was in the press. Yeah, no need to repeat. Surprisingly, the fact is that there is no full-scale investigation. Nobody is performing it. Folks, understand this. The European continent, the entire European continent, is in an energy crisis. And that crisis comes as a consequence and a result of governments and mainstream media not giving a shit and pushing the Ukraine war, right? In fact, there's a reason they're not investigating it. There's a reason the mainstream media isn't talking about the Nord Stream pipelines, because they all know who did it, who is responsible for it, and reporting and investigating it will only serve to show the United States, the United Kingdom, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, the European Union involvement and participation. It would demonstrate it's a massive terrorist action that is now causing suffering, poverty, and death to many, many European peoples and nations. That's right. Bringing Europe down, folks, from a first world nation down a full notch. They seem to be damn proud of it, too. But yeah, they can't talk about it. But look at all the damage they've done, folks. There's nothing that a few well-placed demolition charges can't accomplish, huh? It's so much easier to destroy than to build something. For example, 9/11. Took what, a couple hours to bring down the Twin Towers? Took years to build them. Unbelievable stuff, right? Unbelievable. Now, while we're talking about Russia and them bringing topics up, and get your questions in and down below, because when I get done with this subject, I'm going back to you in this Friday free for all. Okay, Russia. Well, it's President Vladimir Putin, right? And his main man in their Ministry of Defense. That would be Sergei Lavrov. They're in charge. But former Russian President Medvedev is calling for something. He's asking, he's publicly expressing a desire to have something that is absolutely frightening. And he's calling for Russian warships, which includes Russian submarines, that are tipped armed with hypersonic missiles that may or may not have nuclear warheads. He's calling for them to be stationed offshore, off the coast of the United States of America, offshore of Washington, D.C. Right? They want NATO to be in Ukraine. And everyone in Europe and everyone in the United States who are part of this, let's put NATO in Ukraine. They're like, yeah, what's the big deal if we put a NATO base in Ukraine and then put nuclear weapons on it and then put strategic fighters and bombers there? Yeah, what's the big deal? What's the harm? What's the threat? What's Russia so upset about? Right here. To put Russian warships and submarines right off of our coast. Folks, international waters are what, 30 miles away, 40, 50? What is the number? It doesn't matter. Not with hypersonic missiles. A missile moving at 5,000 miles per hour. 5,000 miles per hour, folks. How long would it take it to fly 30 miles, 50 miles at 5,000 miles an hour? We're talking it can be from that ship or submarine to its target in Washington, D.C. in less than a minute. There's no, we've detected a missile, scramble the jets, we're going to shoot it down. You can't see it. You can't hit it. It's too fast. There's no way to stop this. So now we're seeing the consequences. This free-for-all Friday, we're seeing the true consequences, or shall I say, potential consequences and the full fear. Now, is the mainstream media talking about what Medvedev said? Well, it's not Putin. It's a former Russian president. But he is saying what Putin and Sergei Lavrov are thinking, and the rest of Kremlin and the rest of the Admiralty and the rest of the generals in Russia. Well, fuck you. You want to put NATO in Ukraine off of our border? Well, we're not. I'm sure they're sitting there going, we're not stupid enough to put our capital right there on the ocean. Washington, D.C. is on the ocean, and Russia has every right under international law to put their warships in international waters just offshore from Washington, D.C., New York City, Boston. Philadelphia is not much further, and neither is Pittsburgh. Look out, folks. Russia is letting us know through Medvedev, without it being official out of Lavrov or Putin's mouth. But he's saying, hey, look, right? We need warships right there to let them know how this works. How do you feel about that? They can do the same thing on the West Coast and park hypersonic nuclear-tipped weapons off of San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco Bay Area, Portland, SeaTac. They can park them in the Gulf and target Houston, Dallas, San Antonio. I mean, name any other city. Miami, Tampa, Pensacola. Oops, there's a base there. What you have? Fort Benning in Georgia. You got the Marine Corps bases. You got Cherry Point and Lejeune, as well as Fort Bragg, close to the coast over on North Carolina. So much of our country is within mere seconds for a hypersonic missile. And this is what Joe Biden has done. This is what Barack Obama has done. This is what 90 Proof Nancy has done. This is what Mittens Romney has done. This is what Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton and James Comey and Jeff Sessions and Bill Barr and George W. Bush and every other rhino and Democrat leader out there who have sold our national security down the drain and pushed us in the direction of World War III. And I didn't even count all of the globalist organizations, did I? Oh no, the globalist organizations, they're responsible for this too. But they can't do it until they buy off, that is, bribe, own politicians. Thank God they had, Jeffrey Epstein to help them with their little cause. All right, Jolene, let's get off of my topic, which just seems so dark and gruesome. I'm sure we've got something nicer to talk about on this Free for All Friday. Who is up next? It is Greg Madere. Hello, Greg. Glad to have you back. And he says, just heard Russia wiped 4 NATO bases off the map in Ukraine. Well, it's my understanding we don't have any NATO bases in Ukraine, but they were trying. They were trying to do that. So let me quickly scroll. And I don't see anything about that. But I'm sure the bases you're describing are probably U.S. NATO supported military bases, which is darn close to being NATO, except it doesn't have NATO equipment, and Russia's allowed to attack it because it's within a war zone. And yeah, I'm not saying anything on this, so I cannot confirm what you're talking about, nor can I add anything to it. I apologize for that, Greg, but I will be keeping a very freaking close eye on this. Wow. Right. Unbelievable. There is that potential and that warning for World War III, folks. It's right there. It truly is right there. Is it worth it? Now that we have Medvedev calling for Russian warships, Russian submarines, right? Russia's military is on standby. It's expanding. They have North Korea offering to kill every last one of their excess soldiers. We have China, an ally of Russia. I mean, can you see this? Unbelievable, right? Unbelievable. Oh, by the way, right? Oh, Kevin McCarthy thinks he's going to win. He is absolutely the worst candidate for the position of Speaker of the House in this country's history, period. What is he down? 13 lost attempts now, 14 lost attempts, but they're slowly beating down the opposition. And I don't know why, and I don't know how. Are they buying them off? Are they threatening them? Oh, there's lots of threatening, folks, and I'm sure there's lots of attempts at bribes. I tell you what, you hold out, I'll give you a seat in this congressional committee. You'll make millions of dollars off of XYZ companies in the military industrial complex, in the medical industrial complex, in the educational industrial complex. I'll give you that committee. I'll give you that seat. I'll guarantee that I got people lining up at your congressional office to throw money at you, to throw money into your campaign coffers that you don't have to spend and then you can claim as your own if you ever decide to retire or if you lose. I'm sure McCarthy's trying to buy everyone he can. I pray that these people can hold out against him and continue to show him to be the most ugly, vile, despicable candidate ever put up for Speaker of the House. And he's done it, folks, and that's what he is. I talked about it earlier today in the Zero Dark 30 when I said, I mean, this guy he's trying for that. And he's so despicable and unloved, even in a day, even at a time when it's okay to be a homosexual, when it's okay to be a pervert, when it's okay to stick your hand in the cookie jar and do insider trading, when it's okay to do things that 20 years ago, much less 200, would have been considered illegal, vile, and treasonous. This guy, yeah, he's going to do all he can. And the establishment, Democrats, the establishment, Rhino Republicans, the establishment, mainstream media, guess what? They're all for it. What the hell does that tell you? Right? McCarthy is a younger version of Nancy Pelosi without the tits. And I'm pretty sure they both don't have balls, even though they act like they got the biggest balls on the planet. Right? McCarthy is defiant. McCarthy is confident. What right does he have to be confident or defiant? America is seeing what an exact scumbag he is. I mean, get this. Trey Gowdy showed up on TV and called the opposition to anyone wanting him elected, they called it a clown show. So Matt Gaetz responded. Here's his response to Trey Gowdy for calling him and others who support freedom, liberty, the Constitution, and your rights a clown show. So what Matt Gaetz said. Trey Gowdy would know something about clown shows. That's probably how a lot of us would categorize the Benghazi hearings that resulted in people screaming at each other in a big report, but no real accountability. That was where Hillary Clinton, folks, by the way, said, what difference does it make now? What difference does it make that people died because of government, her government, with Barack, the decisions they made? Anyways, let me continue with Matt Gaetz's quote. I remember the Trey Gowdy who went on your network as a congressman and said that he's reviewed what has gone on with the FBI, this was back then, and Department of Justice, this was back then during the Benghazi time, and that they had done nothing wrong and that actually the American people would be happy with what they were looking at with President Trump. Interesting. Trey Gowdy said that about the FBI and the Attorney General's office, the Department of Justice, and all of the shenanigans going on about Trump. What are we talking about? The Russia collusion hoax, bullshit, lies, and bribery. And Trey Gowdy said that's fine. There's nothing wrong, and the American people would be happy with what they were doing. I don't fucking think so. Right? Trey Gowdy, of course, is an ex-congressman, folks, who, for whatever reason, and I'm sure it wasn't a good one, left Congress. Now, continuing with Matt Gaetz, Republican congressman out of the state of Florida, who had an FBI former agent, who I'm sure was still being taken care of by the FBI and the deep state, tried to blackmail him over a $25 million extortion scheme to claim that he was trafficking women for sex. That's right, folks. That's the same Matt Gaetz. They tried destroying him and couldn't. So this Matt Gaetz continues, says, now, of course, we know that the Russia collusion hoax and the FBI and everything and Hillary to be false. And even Trey Gowdy has expressed regret about that. So I don't exactly take a lot of armchair quarterbacking from someone, Trey Gowdy, who during his time in Congress wasn't among the fighters. Right? Hey, whatever happened about the criminal referrals that were to come out of those Benghazi hearings, huh, Trey? Right. So, folks, Gaetz and other Republicans, Gaetz and company, they're continuing to fight. They're fighting hard. They're fighting in the face of evil with everyone spitting on them. And Trey, the pussy Gowdy, wants to talk about the shit he thinks is going on. So, screw you, Trey, ash Trey, cat litter Trey, right? What did he or any of these other Republicans do besides talk and suck up money? What have the other Republicans done while people are rotting in Washington for January 6 violations, or rotting in prisons around the country for the same, or rotting in jail right now because they're being falsely charged? People that have been roped into FBI schemes. FBI schemes? John, what are you talking about? Well, kind of like the one where the FBI got people in Michigan to participate in a scheme to kidnap the governor. And then the FBI, in their little sting operation, arrested everybody for an idea they introduced and pushed. Entrapment? Oh, no, not in 2023. No. Or 21 or 22. Right? Unbelievable. Okay, let's do this. Let's get to you guys. I think I talked about some stuff there, and it's doing stuff with Nikki. And she has a cool Governor DeSantis Disney update. And what Nikki is saying is that he ratcheted up his fight today with Disney, planned to take control of the governing board and make Disney assume $700 million in outstanding debt. Right? He's a pit bull, and she's laughing out loud. Good, right? Governor DeSantis' communication director said, the corporate kingdom has come to an end. What other governors out there, folks, are fighting like DeSantis. Against the woke, against the corrupt, against the insiders, against the syndicate, not the R syndicate, but the syndicate of organized crime masquerading as corporate, shall we call them cartels, kind of like a Steny Hoyer. Remember that guy, Steny Hoyer? This was put together by Mr. T. And again, I want to say a thank you to Mr. T. And everyone understand that behind the scenes, Mr. T, behind the scenes, Uman, behind the scenes, Jolene, behind the scenes, John, and everyone else are working their asses off to get information to you, right? Behind the scenes, he's trying to stop this corporate and government cartel.
They want to eliminate what they call the deep state. The deep state is a cadre of professionals dedicated to honoring the Constitution, the laws of this country, and carrying out the policies of the Congress and the President. The deep state, the deep state. If they're a cadre of government employees, why do they need to call it the deep state? Why do they need to be the deep state? They have control of the government. They have control of the bureaucracy. Why don't they just come right out in the open and tell us who they are and what they're doing and all that? And then we can believe it or choose for ourselves. Instead, they work behind the scenes and they fuck people over behind the scenes. Well, Governor DeSantis is in Florida right now going up against Disney and saying, here's $700 million in debt that you owe, fuckheads. I love it. I absolutely love it. Right? Well, folks, Disney is a corporate government entity well, at least they were in part of Florida. Right? We need people fighting. How many other governors are fighting? How many congressmen are fighting for us? Folks, what is going on in D.C. is an attempt to take back the power. And at the very least, they're exposing the power that's there. And I can do nothing except, well, congratulate them, thank them, honor them for the work they do. The same way you work tirelessly to understand what's going on. And a lot of you are working and fighting and stepping up and doing everything you can. And it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible because I know how hard it is to do all of this. To do what I do, to do what you do, I get it. There's people here behind the scenes, and I'm looking at one on the screen in a little box that's shaded behind the scenes. The man works tirelessly. And he has family, just like you and I. He has business, just like you and I, but he spends his time here. It's incredible how many people work to make this channel go. And it's run on essentially a shoestring budget with people supporting it. And I want to thank you all. And support comes in so many ways. Thank you, and you know who you are. If you're helping this show, you get basically silent kudos, right? That's why I tell people share the internet address and get it out there, because that is how the reward really comes, right? We all work for a living to pay our bills, but the reward comes when you help others, right? Wake up and realize what life is really about, what the fuck is going on. And if you want to know what the fuck is going on in Mexico, well, get this. El Chapo's son was arrested and sent to jail in Mexico City. What the fuck is going on, right? It's a big rut-row. What is happening in Mexico? This is another thing that has happened this week. Why is it not all over the news? Why not? El Chapo is like the massive drug dealer who is sending drugs up into America, our country, and around the world. He's being funded by who? Probably a country whose name starts with the letter C. What drugs are we getting in America, folks? Fentanyl, not to mention cocaine and other marijuana products, even though they've basically legalized marijuana in America now at this point. But still, that's not good enough. We want methamphetamines, right? We want cocaine. We want fucking crack. Give us that fentanyl. Oh, don't worry. Once they get rid of fentanyl, there'll be a new designer drug that comes out. But yeah, the police have arrested El Chapo's son. And now violence has erupted in Culiacan, which is the, and forgive the pronunciation, my Spanissimo is not what it used to be. Anyways, that's the district in which he lives. Oh, there's going to be violence, folks. Now, remember, down in Brazil, the Brazilian government under, well, Bolsonaro, which is no longer the Bolsonaro government down there. It is now a communist government in Brazil. And my heart goes out to all the Brazilians. That's right, folks. And I even know people from Brazil. I know people who are Brazilian from Brazil. And one of them actually went back, and it's a good friend of mine from California. Well, when I was in California, Nico is back down there. But yeah, now they're a communist government. How's that going to work out? Well, it never works out good. But they went after their drug lords. The drug lords in Brazil that were supporting the communist government. So now we have Mexico and the Mexican government going after El Chapo and his son. What is happening in Mexico, folks? Why isn't this all over the news? Do we have the exposure of cartel-backed politicians? And is the Mexican military and the Mexican federal police system, are they trying to take back control of their government? Unbelievable stuff. Okay, let's do this. Let's step up, step out. We're going to step into some shit that you want to talk about. Jolene, what do we got? What do we got rolling in? It's David. And he says this: it seems as if we're living in an alternate reality where the economy and the country itself are in a slow, steady decline. At what point will this reality hit the mainstream, that is the average person? Well, when will it hit this reality, hit the average person and smack him in the head? When will the normies, and I love that term, see what's happening? Do we have to wait for a full-blown Black Friday style event? Yeah. A Black Monday, a Black Friday. How about a Black Week? How about a major, massive collapse of the banking system, the monetary system, the financial system? How about a major collapse, right, of the internet? That would get people's attention, would it not? But the reality we're living in is we're watching the economy slowly wind down. Oh, so slowly, very slowly, the same way a locomotive, which weighs millions and millions of tons, locomotive and all of its subsequent cars, miles and miles of train cars behind these super trains pulling things around the country. Once they get going, they don't want to stop, right? It takes a long time for them to stop because there's a lot of inertia there. Well, there's a lot of inertia behind a massive superpower like the United States of America. So economically, it's slowing down, but slowly. When will people wake up, realize things? Well, when they go to put their little credit card in a machine and they don't have the money. How many people are living off of their credit? How many people are living off of the lie of everything's great, everything's normal, everything's just fine? It's going to happen. When, I don't know, but when it does happen, where is the best place for you to be? Well, it's to be in a seat, fully prepared. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense with your plan. Have you placed yourself in the best position to deal with what is coming? What is your understanding of what is happening and how it can affect you? Right? These are all very personal questions. You see, for me, it's one thing. For Uman, it's another. For Jolene on the West Coast, it's completely different. For people who are living in the mountains compared to people who live in the South, compared to people who live in the Northeast, it's always different for everybody because it is very dynamic. But what is consistent and what we all face is each other. And by each other, I don't mean other preppers. What we face is where we're at and the 10 miles around us. We all have that. And that 10 miles around us may or may not contain 1 million people. It may contain 500,000. It may contain 5,000 or maybe only 50 people, depending on where you live, how remote, how urban, whether you're down south or up north. When shit goes bad, how well protected and preserved are you? That's what being a prepper is about. So being fully informed, helping others wake the fuck up and do something about it. for themselves first. Prep. At the same time, you can prep to action. It's been a great campaign telling people, take action. Don't feel helpless. Take action. Don't say there's nothing I can do about it. You should prep. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Right? It's unbelievable, folks, what is going on. We need to do something about it. All right, I've got a very important, I'm sure it's very important. I was just told it's very important comment there. So let's put them on the board there, Jolene. What do we got? Well, we've got, and it is. It is one of the eternal questions, Marianne or Ginger, and why? Well, a lot of people think Marianne because she's a rather innocent country girl who was wearing clothing akin to the Daisy Dukes before Daisy Duke was Daisy Duke. Marianne, right? The innocent, shy country girl. Probably, right? I want to make sure I don't use words that are too insulting or too revealing. Marianne probably wasn't ridden too hard and put away wet. Or Ginger, on the other hand, who is the extremely sultry and sexy redhead actor. And what are you fucking laughing?
Okay, I got to jump in on this. This is too much fun.
Oh,
I like watching you sweat.
Then you got Ginger, right? Who is the sex symbol, the sex bomb, who's been probably been through the, shall we say, Harvey Weinstein mill of all of the producers in Hollywood. You know, so yeah, is it Marianne or Ginger, and why? Well, we didn't have AIDS and all of the nasty stuff, so maybe Ginger would be better because, you know, she knows her way around the bedroom. But maybe Marianne would be better because she was just got probably a more pure heart and wasn't as how do we say this, stigmatized as a Ginger would be because of her. How do we say this, man? Yeah, poor Ginger was traumatized too much by her Hollywood stuff, so she was probably living a jaded lifestyle, and it wouldn't be a good relationship. So when you say, "Oh man, Marianne or Ginger," do you mean for a date, or someone to marry, or someone that you would be trapped on the moon with, and just you two, or what inconceivably ridiculous scenario are you talking about when you say Marianne or Ginger?
Well, let's just stick to the desert island analogy.
Oh.
You know, I mean, that kind of relates in a lot of ways to prepping too. You know, I mean, you got the whole real people, fake people thing. You know, I've always been a Marianne guy because I like being able to, you know, the whole you get what you see thing. And with Ginger, it's kind of like there's a shell in front of there and you don't know what's going to look like when all the makeup and gowns come off. And, you know, just that nice, honest person versus, you know, somebody that really doesn't feel like they're being all that straightforward with you, you know?
So you're saying Marianne is a disingenuous, grubby, money-grubbing, gold-digging Hollywood hoe?
No, yeah, that's Ginger.
Ginger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't like all that fake facade stuff. And, you know, I just think Marianne is, you know, just like I said, what you see is what you get. You know, you don't have to wonder what happens when the makeup comes off. You know, and that's like with people you encounter in your life every day. You know, you get a feeling for, you know, real genuine people, and then other people you meet and you just know they're faker than hell.
Yeah. Well, if you were someone like me who has a really hard time with relationships because of past history, you know, you may want something, shall we say, kind of hollow and one-dimensional because you don't get too attached. You know, so it would be easier to spend a couple of weeks with Ginger and then just walk away, like, you know, or she would walk away from you and your heart wouldn't be smashed into a million fucking pieces. How's that?
Yeah. Oh, hey, that's an understandable approach to it. Sure.
Yeah. Having relationships, that is a tricky business.
Yeah. If as far as the relationship goes, I think I would still go the Marianne route. I'm a sucker.
Did you hear me answer either way, or did you hear me try talking pros and cons on both?
You kind of ran around it from both sides.
So are you demanding an answer or
No, I just wanted to see a squirm because I think I may have asked this question a long time ago.
Yeah, we've addressed it in the past. And what's fascinating, I think, is how time and perspective may change our attitudes. I mean, has it changed your attitude or the audience? Right? Which one is it, Marianne or
I
Jim?
haven't been following the chat, but I mean, as far as my attitude goes, no. I mean, I don't like. I got enough craziness going on all day long at work. I don't need to come home to craziness. I'd like to spend a nice, quiet evening and just hang out and just chill. Just relax. And
The worst part of this is for the female members of the audience, the Prepared Mind audience. They're like, yeah, neither of them, right? They're not lesbians.
Well, maybe next week we bring on a guest, one of the ladies, a couple of the ladies, and we could ask the skipper or the professor or Mr. Howell or Gilligan.
Ginger and Marianne are both very attractive, so you can't say who do you want? Thurston Howell the third. Do you want to be a gold digger or do you want the skipper? A big fat level.
Don't give away the traps that those answers come with.
We should say Marianne or a little bit. Ask women, Marianne or Ginger, who would you like to hang out and have as your best friend?
Yeah.
Right, just take the whole sex equation out of there, right? Let's take the sex equation out of this for you right now. Oh my God, that would be a Nikki comment. Thanks, Nikki.
Marianne, I did.
Okay, let me ask this question, right? If you had to have a platonic relationship, man. And I know you're familiar with those. A platonic relationship with Marianne or Ginger, who would you pick?
Marianne.
Because what you see is what you get, and she's probably more genuine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sure the whole Ginger thing never appealed to me.
No?
No. And then recently we find out that gingers have no souls. So.
And what's terrible is you'd think that as rare as gingers are, maybe it's just because they're so visible that when you see them, they stick out like a sore thumb, and you're like, man, I know 6 or 7 gingers, right?
Yeah,
I do.
Marianne's more of the gray man, I guess, right?
Oh, I don't know, Daisy Dukes thing going there. It's all funny stuff, but yeah, I can't say. Well, probably no. Desert Island. Who would I want? I would want Marianne, because on a desert island, I wouldn't feel bad about putting her to work. Whereas with Ginger, I'd be afraid of her. Oh, there it is. Charles says she can cook. we're assuming she can cook by saying she's a country girl.
Oh, but in the show she did.
But here's why I'm gonna say Ginger, and I want everyone to think long and hard about this. On a desert island, Ginger. That is a resourceful, creative, hardworking bitch. Are you ready for this? After years and years, she still has great makeup and her clothes are white, crisp, and clean. How did that bitch do that?
She hasn't broken a nail.
Huh?
And she hasn't broken a nail.
She hasn't broken a nail. Look at her hair. This is a very resourceful, creative woman. She's making chemicals and shit out of coconuts and crabs and sea life. And that is the one smart woman. So there it is, right? In SHTF, we're on a desert island. You don't have access to it. There's no Piggly Wigglies out there in the South Pacific or wherever the hell it is they're supposed to be. Anyways, man, I really appreciate you bringing that question up and lightening the end of the week. It has been a dark, gruesome, grueling start already to 2023. And I think we need to keep some levity for ourselves.
Absolutely. That's why I thought I'd bring it up. I've just been hearing too much garbage all week, and it was a nice way to kind of end it on a up note.
I mean, look at this.
Week 1, right out the fucking gate, right? NFL player collapses. El Chapo arrested. Russia threatening nuclear war, putting fucking missiles right off the coast, right? Is there anything else? Oh, hell yeah. You know, I mean, there's so much stuff that we didn't cover. Let me scroll up the computer here. Just email after email after email that has been sent to me. I mean, literally, I get at least 100 emails a day, at least, that I have to review and go through and try and do something with. And people are like, why don't you write back? I'm like, I just, you know, why I missed it, right? I didn't see your fucking email. I'm sorry. And it's terrible, you know. It's just that kind of a world now. Are you prepared? Are you ready for it? It's not going to get easier, man. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there are only so many hours in a day, and with everything we got to do to get everything ready around here, you know, you can only answer so many emails. And it was great when the channel was small and had time to do all that, but when you got that many come in and there's no way to keep up.
Yeah, I was standing on an elevator this week, and the inside of the elevator door is polished stainless steel, kind of like a mirror. And I looked at myself, and I was hunched over like this. Just fucking, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? You know, and I had to stand up straight, tilt my head back, pull my shoulders back, you know, stand up straight. And then I looked at myself in the fucking reflection. I thought, okay, that's how you're supposed to look, John. Why the fuck are you all painfully hunched over? And it's just all this tension and stress, you know. So we gotta be very careful with our health and our mental attitude and stuff like that, and make sure we keep a very clear perspective on where we're at in all of this. And some humor helps too, man.
Yeah, and, you know, getting away for the couple of weeks there was nice, just to get away from all that, be able to shut things off for a while, and you know, just not pay attention to it and let the world go to hell and deal with if it happens. You know, I just can't be that stressed about it all the time anymore. I got to shut it off.
Well, I hear you. Mr. T made this, and I just thought about it. I'm like, holy cow, I forgot we had this Prepared Mind Studios backdrop setup.
Okay.
And you're today's guest.
No, nice. I'm that guest that crashes the party and won't go home at the end.
Yeah, you're that guy, man. You're that guy. Anyways, it's really perspective, but preparedness, perspective, and keeping your health in order. You know, be sure and get some sleep, Boo, man. I know you work damn hard, like so many people here. Okay, let me just roll through here. I think there's one more thing I just wanted to quickly say. I loved it that Matt Gaetz decided to nominate Trump. I don't think that it's going to happen. I just think it's funny as fuck, and it's very interesting because it's making people think. You know, it's not going to happen. What do you think?
Did you hear that he threatened to quit if McCarthy was nominated or
wins?
Approved?
I think that's a hollow threat. And it would be stupid.
I think it's just a stupid thing to do. You know, I mean, if he did actually quit, it would be bad for the country.
It would hurt the country.
Conservatives. And
I want more people up there fighting in D.C. I want I want Matt Gaetz there fighting and getting kicked in the face and kicked in the nuts and kicked in the ass all day. We need Matt Gaetz taking that kind of punishment for America.
Yeah, and if he makes that threat and doesn't go through with it, then I think that is going to be a bad reflection on his I don't know, his determination going forward or something. You know, I mean, you don't say, if I don't get my way, I'm going to take the toys, kick the sand, and go home. You know.
At the same time, okay, back when I was a jarhead, I heavily and strongly objected to the abuse that young Marines were being subjected to. Being young and having low rank was being criminalized in the unit I was in and on the base I was at. And I was so pissed off, I said, I'm out of here. I'm not going to participate in this anymore. And I did some whistleblower stuff, got a huge investigation started. It was incredible. And it's affected my life, you know, because it affected me. And I had people say, you can't leave, right? If you leave, the bad guys stay in place. And so that fight's been going on, folks, all the way back into the 80s and way before. So, you know, I walked away from it because I believed that you know, I was not an E6. I wasn't a fucking gunny,
right? People were going to be coming for my head if I stayed in there. So I decided to leave. But if Matt Gaetz leaves, there's no place he can hide. You know, he has the power of stepping in front of the press right now. So he can't do what I did and just say, you know what, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to quit. They'll come after him in his private life and chase him the rest of his life for what he's done and said already. In other words, we're in a fucking war.
Yeah.
We're in a battle for the salvation or destruction of the American Republic. And so I don't think Matt has a choice. I don't think I have a choice anymore. I would have quit a long time ago if I thought I could go fucking hide. But I don't think I can. I put my face out there and whoops.
Yep. There it is.
There it is. Yeah. When I walk into a restaurant or a bar and someone goes, and I'm like, shh. Right. And they're like, gotcha.
Yeah,
right. I just want some fucking privacy, please.
That's never happened to me, but I think I would be quite shocked if it did. You know, I mean, that must be a very strange feeling.
It's a little strange, and your day is coming, man. People,
yeah, hopefully not, but I don't seek. I think celebrity, you know, having that kind of a celebrity status is a curse, because I mean, you can't just live anonymously anymore.
It feels kind of funny, you know, and I was trying to explain to a friend just before the show. What did I have, 15, 20 minutes to get ready today? Yeehaw, I had a lot of time. I was trying to explain to a friend just how vulnerable we all are to and prone to attacks. You know, I was discussing why I've kept emails, text messages, and voicemail of certain people for the last 8 to 10 years. You know, shortly after the show started, it's because if something happens, I need to be able to go to the police or go to a court and say, listen to this shit. You know, I got to protect myself.
Yep.
It's all part of the battle. It's part of the fight. And I don't think you, Oliver, I mean, Uman.
Oliver's fine. Everybody knows me by that too. So.
My name is Fred. I know that you are tall. I don't know if you stand out quite as much as I do. I'm a fucking towhead at age 52 still. But you stand out quite a bit. But there's some people, they can stand in a room all by themselves and no one would see them. They're just inconspicuous by their very nature. And some of us stand out more.
The folks in our area here are generally tall, so I'm not particularly tall, but
Yeah.
it does get, it is much more noticeable if I'm out with my boys or something, because they're all taller than me. You know, they're almost,
now you got a big group. Yeah.
yeah, they're like almost your size. Or if you go to a family function somewhere or event somewhere, you know, my whole side of the family, I'm the shortest guy. So that is very conspicuous. But me, myself, by myself, not so much.
Yeah. Yeah. I know we've gone long on this episode here. It is Friday. I'm going to take the evening off and fucking relax. I think I've earned it. I know you have. I'm going to take Saturday off, but I'll be back for Sunday Night Live. I'll be here at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 5 p.m., 4 p.m., 3 p.m. on the Pacific side, and we're going to have our Sunday Night Live and talk about what the fuck is happening. I'm waiting for the big one, right? I'm waiting for the big one. I mean, this was interesting. In France, their fucking interior minister said something incredibly stupid. Only 690 cars were torched on New Year's Eve.
Only.
If he had said, I can't believe this, we need to get this nation under control, we had 690 cars torched, well, that would indicate a problem. But he's like, nah, only 690. It's like, well, I would think that if 2 or 3 cars were torched, the government would be concerned. Why are you torching a car on fucking New Year's Eve? Yeah, that's how whacked out and backwards. I can't remember who it was that had a comment earlier that we're living in an alternate universe, a bizarre land, a bizarro world, an idiocracy. It's universal on the planet, if there's any such way to use that word, universal. Anyways, here we are.
I don't think we're going to see that big event that we've been waiting for. I think we're in the midst of low speed detonation, and it's just, the fuse has been lit and it's just blowing up very slowly, and they're trying to do it so that nobody notices.
Well, the old pot of frogs, huh?
Yep.
There's people dying right now, very slowly, of the Jim Jones juice, and they don't know it. And that water, I mean, there's one example of, the slow kill. The economy, I believe, man, is a very slow kill. People are feeling it, but it's not bad enough to make them run and grab their torches and pitchforks.
Right. And I think that's the way it's going to keep going. I'll be surprised if there is that one big thing that sets it off. I mean, there could be. I mean, it could be some event like our St. George Floyd event, but on a larger scale that sets everything off. That's always a possibility, but I think they're going to try to keep it so that it's as low key as possible, and, test the threshold of pain that we're willing to accept and endure.
Right. Yeah. They'll push 3 times at you, and then when people squeal, they back off.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like, hey, we only want you to wear that mask for 2 more weeks. And people are like, okay, 2 more weeks. And then the 2 weeks passes, and they're like, well, no, we just had some more, so we're going to have to wear the mask for 6 more weeks.
Yeah.
And they get 6 weeks into it, and people are losing their fucking minds. And they go, okay, no more masks. And then 3 days later, they say, you have to put your mask back on.
Yeah.
They just fucked with people's heads back and forth during the mask. I mean, I remember that shit. They pushed people as far as they could, and then they would back off a little.
But, in a couple of years, it won't be a blip in anybody's memory. Just like with this football player analogy you made earlier, all of a sudden today you hear nothing in the news. Yesterday evening, I heard that, he's doing much better and there's no signs of brain or nerve damage and he should be just fine. And then today, not a word.
And he woke up and asked, who won the game? As if, are you fucking kidding me?
You wake up from something like that, you go, where the hell am I and what happened?
They fucking intubated him, or did they trach him? I think they intubated him.
I think they intubated him.
I think he woke up and thought, what the fuck is in my throat?
Yeah.
I'm
sure the game was the first thing on his mind.
Right. If you're intubated and you've got a bunch of tubes in you, IVs, your arms are tied to the bed with little straps so you don't hurt yourself.
Or go to pull it out when you wake up.
You can't grab anything, pull things out. You can't move your arms. You're looking around. You're in a fucking strange place, and you got a tube down your throat, and there's fucking blips and beeps and shit. The worst television ever, the most uncomfortable bed ever, and you're going to say, who won the game?
Yeah. But people believe it. Oh, wow, he's really dedicated to his sport. Yay,
Was that said?
No, that's my commentary. Saying that, and all these people out there, they're just, all proud of how dedicated to his sport this guy is, and they eat it up and they believe anything they feed him.
Yeah, that's
sad.
Okay, those people. I know you speak truth because we see them all the time, right? What did I see today? I saw a jackass in a convertible BMW with the top down, wearing a mask.
In the South.
That's it?
I said in the South.
Yeah. I thought, well, that must be a liberal on vacation.
Yeah. I mean, that's a special level of stupid.
It is. It really is. All right, man. Let's knock this show off. I'm gonna get some dinner, and I'm gonna get some fucking rest, and I'm gonna get some downtime. But trust me, folks, I will be paying attention all weekend as much as I'm gonna try and rest. Put your questions together, put your comments together, your thoughts, and don't email them to me for Pete's sake. Bring them up on Sunday Night Live. We'll talk about them then. And man, thank you again. You're a champ. You really are, man.
Thank you very much. And thank you to all you guys out there. It's great having a community to talk to and bounce things off of and support each other. So I hope you all have a great weekend.
Thank you, man, very much. and to Jolene and everyone else. You know who you are if you're helping out on the show. And just by being here and watching and sharing, it's a big old help. I'll see you guys Sunday. Let me turn it off.